Hey everybody, this is Benjamin. Welcome to the Queen of the Holy Rosary YouTube channel for Catholic Youth Ministries. Today I'm going to be talking about the different stages of the spiritual life, and so just some encouragement for you in your own prayer and your life with God, to keep you praying and to hopefully explain some of the things that go on that maybe do not make sense to you just yet. And I want to start out with just talking about a little analogy, and the analogy is just one from my own life, in that I used to be a runner, cross-country runner, and so what I would do, this was before the birth of Isaac, but what I would do is I love to run, and I would run outside, and every year when winter time came, I would stop running because it was cold. And then when the spring came, I would start to run again after 3 or 4 months. And whenever I started to run again, it was very hard. I went outside, and the first day that I ran, I would be able to last 3 or 5 minutes, and that's it. And then I would come out a day or two later, and I would be able to last 5 or 6 minutes. And then at the end of that week, I would come out and be able to run for maybe 9 or 10 minutes. After about 3 months of running consistently, I would be able to run for 30 minutes, and during that time, you can enter into a second win. That's what runners call a second win, where you have lots of energy. After the struggle, you have lots of energy, and running is just super joy. So anyway, that's a little bit of an analogy about our prayer life, because the church affirms, and many of the saints talk about, that there are, some different stages going on in our prayer life. One of the first stages is that because of original sin and sin's effects in our lives, we have this battle that is always going on inside of us, and it's with our desires. And oftentimes we don't desire to pray. In fact, maybe more often than not, especially at first when you start, when you begin praying. And so it's a great struggle. And if you endure and persevere, then God brings you to a beautiful moment. That's what a lot of the saints call the illuminative stage. You have this illuminative time with God. You experience Him to be very close, and you have a burning desire to pray. And I remember when I first went to seminary, I really experienced this moment in my life, in that, I was going there, and I'd always been a faithful Catholic, and very involved in my parish, and always been in Mass lots and every Sunday, and so on and so forth. But when I went into seminary, God really blessed me with all these faithful men who loved to pray, and I watched them, and I encountered a new stage, really an illuminative stage in my life of prayer, and I loved to pray. And I would pray often and all the time. It would always be a joy, and it would be very, very easy. And so for a long, long time, I remember we would have retreats, week-long retreats, day-long retreats, oftentimes in total silence, and it was wonderful. So really an example of illuminative prayer, and that happens when we get beyond the initial struggles of prayer and enter into a time of, deeper joy and lasting joy, when prayer for us is something more than the struggle. But then God takes us all to yet another place, a place of more and deeper purification. And this is usually called the purgative stage of prayer. And what happens, from my understanding, is that God, He wants to make sure that He is the first priority of the soul in this stage. And so He pulls away a little bit, and a little bit, and a little bit from that person who prays, to see if that soul is going to pursue God in love. And He doesn't do that maliciously. He does that with the intention to purify us. And what happens then is, if we have any kind of like unhealthy attachments, if we love, our hobbies more than God, if we love our relationships more than God, if we love our work or our sports more than God, He wants to purify that and make it so we love God above everything else. And in fact, St. John of the Cross, one of the great saints of the church, talks about how this purgative stage can actually go on for an entire lifetime. If somebody who is loving God does not give their entire life to God and make God the first priority in everything, in all their decisions, in all their desires, and in all their understandings. And anyway, that's an amazing statement, something to be mindful of. Anyway, that's a stage in the prayer life. The next stage is usually referred to as the unitive stage, which, St. John, he talks about this and says, many people, many souls do not even get to this stage in their entire life. But he encourages us, because if you do not get there in this life, then you certainly will in the next life, because in a sense, it's a foretaste of what heaven is. So the unitive stage is really a time when a soul is been so transformed, and they are so configured to Christ that their decisions and their will and their desires, they really have kind of ceased being their own will and desires. And Christ is so present in them that he's working almost in a literal way through that person. And that's about all I can understand of that stage. But let me read you something from what St. John describes in this unitive stage. He says this: "The soul now feels that it is inflamed in the divine union. Its palate is all bathed in glory and love. That in the intimate part of its substance it is flooded with no less than the rivers of glory, abounding in delights. And from its depths flow rivers of living water, which the Son of God declared will rise up in such souls. It seems because it is so forcefully transformed in God, so possessed by him, and arrayed with such rich gifts of virtue, that it is singularly close to beatitude, to heaven, so close that only a thin veil separates it." Okay, so think about that for a while. That's amazing. Anyway, I wanted to just talk a little bit about these stages in our prayer life, because as you already know, prayer is a battle, and oftentimes we have to go against our very selves. And if you picked up the things that I was talking about, you noticed right there that the very first stage of the spiritual life is very much a battle, because this world and the devil and a lot of our selfish desires really want to keep us from praying, want to keep us from getting closer and closer to God. So I think a lot of people today, especially a lot of young people, they suffer from kind of not understanding what prayer really is. And a lot of them will tell me, "Oh, Benjamin, I'm bored with prayer. I'm bored with the Mass, and I don't know what to do." And then in the midst of a boredom or a lack of desire to pray, they cease doing it. My encouragement to you would be hang in there and do pray until you get on into some deeper stages of your prayer life. You'll find a beautiful stage after that, and then another purgative, purifying stage, which is a very difficult stage. And so this happens in prayer, and because of sin, original sin, and sin's effects, this is normal in our life of prayer. And the reason that I wanted to tell you all that is so you don't get too discouraged and you don't give up on something too early. And that's a huge point in our prayer life. So a few words on prayer and spirituality, and hopefully a little encouragement for you all. So God bless you, and keep praying. If you enjoy prayer and it's a joy, continue to pray. If prayer is a battle and it's a struggle and it's a mystery, continue to pray. Wherever you are, just keep it up and keep going, and some stages will give way to great joy and great beauty. So God bless you all. And until next time on Holy Rosary YouTube channel.